Today I'm here with Meredith Masony, founder of That's Inappropriate, one of the most popular parenting blogs on the web. And she is also the author of the new book, Ask Me What's for Dinner One More Time. Hold it up, yay.
The
And
size of my head.
I want to say the title of the book a little differently. Go ahead, ask me what's for dinner one more time, right?
There you go. That was how it was meant.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to start with a passage from your book. By the way, I'm Sue Borison from Your Teen Media, Susan. And here's my passage I'm going to start with. Susan is your nemesis. Susan is every parent who has given that side-eye glance to let you know she's a better person than you are. She is the mom who reminds everyone at the PTA meeting that at least at the last bake sale, you brought cookies that were processed at a facility where nuts and other allergens might be present. It's cool, Susan. We all know you are perfection. We just don't care.
Well, Susan has now evolved into Karen, apparently.
Okay, so I was thinking, what's a Karen? If this is a Susan, who's a
So I think there was an evolution, right? So what was it in the beginning? It was like, bye, Felicia. And then we kind of got into the whole Susan thing, and now it's a Karen, and next year it will be something else.
Okay, but I never knew there was a Susan. Wait, you did not make that up. That's a real thing.
No, that was a thing.
I missed the whole thing.
It was an evolution of things, you know.
Okay,
There's been this evolution.
I personally want to put out there that I never did a bake sale, that I vowed to never be on the PTA.
Wonderful.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the title of your book. Ask Me What's for Dinner One More Time. I think over the 13 years of publishing and putting out information for parents of teenagers, that might be the single most common thing we talk about. Like, why are we in charge of dinner? So
I don't know. I'm not in charge of dinner, if we're being honest. I get asked. I'm not even in charge of dinner. My husband cooks now.
Okay. So why the title of the book?
Well, because it is this repetitive question that they are asking you at 8 a.m., you know, and it's like, I don't know why you care that much, because not once have I put you to bed without something to eat, right? But like they have this fear. I think it's more of what I'm going to say that they don't want to eat, right? Like, what's for dinner? And it's like, well, it's tofu and broccolini, and I'm going to hear, you know, and it's like, well, we're vegans, so the options are limited. So you're going to eat tofu 3 times a week, you know, but they just do. I think since the birth of my children, as soon as they could talk, they're either asking for snacks or asking me what's for dinner. I don't know why they do it.
What's the single, like, you put something out there with like benign intent, and it came back with so much more hate than you ever anticipated?
Oh, there have been a couple that were like just crazy, right? So what moms want for Mother's Day was my first viral video, and that was back in 2016. And it was where I was honestly just saying, what I want for Mother's Day is to be left the hell alone. I don't want to see my kids. I don't want to interact with my family. I want to drink champagne and binge Netflix. Like, if you want to ask a mom who's supposed to have one day a year where we honor said mother, this is what I want to do, right? And now I was death threats, like, you name it. People were just up at, this woman hates her children. I feel bad for her husband. Like, you know, just, and it was crazy because it was very polarizing, because there were mothers who were screaming like, yes, that's what I want too. And then there were either these other moms or these spouses who were saying, you know, it's a terrible thing to say you don't want to spend time with your family. And it's like, well, I'm just telling you what I want. I didn't say that it's what this mother wants. And after 12 million views, I'd have to say that there were lots of women who wanted that. A lot of my stuff is polarizing because I'm talking about topics that families deal with and that sometimes people don't want to have conversations about because they're uncomfortable. But that's where I feel like we live most of our life in an uncomfortable space. It's our choice whether or not we talk about it. And so I talk about it because I feel like when you're in the uncomfortable, it's when you're changing and growing. When things are very comfortable, I feel like you can become stagnant and you don't try to make that change happen, right? Because it's comfortable. So for me, I basically live uncomfortably all the time. But I don't shy away from it. I just don't engage with a lot of it anymore.
Do you have something you wrote that you kind of were surprised how much it took off, how much it resonated with people?
I wrote a letter to my son the day he was diagnosed on the spectrum. And I actually published it before I spoke to any of my family members about it. And I don't know if it's because I felt safer telling people I didn't know than having to tell the rest of my family about his diagnosis. But it is probably my favorite thing that I've ever written. And I have received hundreds and hundreds of emails and messages, probably thousands at this point, because it's an older piece, about it helping them cope and deal with their child being diagnosed on the spectrum. And it's not something that we talk a ton about on the page, but I talk about it in passing, or I talk about it if we're going through something in therapy, but it's part of who we are. No, I'm not a special needs blogger or vlogger, but I have a child on the spectrum. So I talk about special needs, different needs. But that piece really, and I did it for me. I did it because I knew that there were other people who were experiencing the same thing, that were either going through it now or will go through it. And I wanted them to know, like, it's good to write that and let that out, because it's part of the journey, and it was hard. It was something that was really hard for us. But it's important to talk about it.
Well, my parents talk about it. Everything you talk about is important to talk about it. And the idea of why you do it and why we talk about difficult conversations is because people suffer alone and they feel very isolated and alone. Your kids are getting older. How old are they now?
The oldest is going into 9th grade. He'll be 15 in the spring. And then I have a middle schooler, 6th grade SAS machine. And I have a 9, going to be 10-year-old next month.
Okay, so there's a lot of videos with your family together, and it's all very funny and entertaining. As they've gotten older, is there anything off limits? Are they feeling like they want to be less exposed?
I will, when I script something, because we have a couple of different things on the site, right? Like, you'll see my family in live videos, which obviously aren't scripted. We're live, we're sitting around, whatever. Then I have sketch comedy stuff, which they're in and is scripted. And I will say to them, hey, I want to shoot this video. Will you be in this? And there have been plenty of times where my oldest son says, no, the other kids at school watch it and I don't want to be in it. And I have to respect that. Now, have I bribed him to be in videos? Yes. Because I really, like, I did this video about teen boys be like, and it was with the Nerf guns, and it was where I was actually playing him, and his part was 10 seconds long, but he didn't want to be in the video. He wanted to shoot it. So he shot that video. And then I was like, I'll buy you a new Nerf gun if you just end the scene. And he was like, okay, Mom. And so I bought his love that day with the Nerf gun. But
we, in some places we call it incentivizing, but in parenting we call it bribing. So, you know.
It was incentivizing. But no, if there is, like, I wanted to do this video about his first date, about me experiencing his first date. And I still think it's a great video to do, but he wouldn't do it. And I didn't want to force that, because dating is a sensitive issue. So I didn't want to force it, but I
just want to say, go figure to that one. Like, who would have guessed your kid didn't want you to do a video about his first date?
Well, I actually wanted it to be about the mother's reaction to their child's first date, but he did not see my vision the way I saw my vision.
You wrote about your reaction to your son when he told you that he had a crush on a girl. And then soon after, they had a relationship, brief, in middle school, and then she broke his heart. And your response was you understood why your mother-in-law doesn't like you. Mm-hmm. So here's my question to you. Did that change your relationship with your mother-in-law? How did it impact your life, that moment?
Well, to be honest, which is our thing, we had been estranged for quite a while, not the kids. And I wrote about this in the book. We allowed the kids to spend time with them, but it just we weren't in a good relationship spot, with myself and my in-laws. We're doing good now. I don't know when the book comes out. We'll have to see. But I think I was fair in the book. I think I talked about the fact that when you're blending families together, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to like everybody or that everything is going to be hunky dory. I mean, you know, these are people are human and they have feelings, and but it did make me understand a little bit more about that feeling you have when you're a parent and your child gets their feelings hurt when it's that sort of a couple situation, you know, and that, you know, I don't know. I mean, she and I just, my husband's laughing. He's like, please tell this lady to edit this. What I'm trying to say is relationships are hard. We're doing pretty good now, and hopefully it will remain, you know, that way. But I respect my in-laws, and I respect the fact that relationships are hard. You know, it's just being honest about them on a bigger scale that's scary.
Okay, you use the word love shunned. First of all, is that your term?
I don't know.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I felt like that's what I was in that moment. I felt like I had been love shunned. And
tell us the story, because first of all, I loved the phrase, but I also just thought you handled it so well. Like your intuition kicked in such a beautiful way.
Well, you know, no, somebody said this the other day, and I can't give credit because I don't remember. I read it, I saw it on Facebook, but somebody said nobody prepares you from going from mommy to mom. And that's true, because when they're little, they're always grabbing for your hand. They're always grabbing for your leg. They're always grabbing for that attention. Now it's more side eye, stare, glare, you know, I'm going to shiv you stuff. But it was at one point, they were like, you were the center of the universe. And so I've been love shunned now by all of my children. But my oldest son, you know, going into middle school, and him basically, you know, not wanting to say I love you, or not wanting to, you know, give me that morning hug or whatever on the way out, it hurt. Like you have this, like, I remember feeling this pain in my chest, like, oh, how could you not want to hug your mother? Like, I'm your mother. Like, you always want to hug me. But I realized that there's also an embarrassment factor as they're into this, you know, pubescent middle school era. And as long as I'm getting that I love you from him in some way, shape, or form, and we're having a connection, then I was okay with it. But like, my feelings were hurt, and it sucked. And I was just happy that it was pure embarrassment and not an actual, you know, I mean, I was shunned, but it wasn't like I'm mad at you, mom shun. It was like I don't want to get picked on and thrown in a garbage can, I'm in middle school shun. So.
But you brought it up to him. Like he walked away without saying, I love you. And then later in the day, you said that really felt bad. And so you were able to have a conversation with
I sat him down in the car, at parent pickup, and because it sat with me all day, you know. Have you ever had that argument with your kid where, you know, they got out in a huff or whatever, and then it's all you think about all day? Yeah. And I just had a logical conversation with him. I said, I had a bad day. I didn't like the way I felt. I need to know that, you know, we're good, and I love you, and I need to hear that. I need to hear it in some way, shape, or form before you go. And he was like, okay, mom, I get it. I'm sorry, and I won't do that anymore. And he, you know, now our thing is when I drop them off at school, well, in a normal non-pandemic world, it's I love you, make good choices. And there's the response from the kids, you know, love you too. And so it's good.
Okay, last question. When you speak to your audience on any of your platforms and in any video or writing or on the stage when you could, what do you hope they take away?
That I understand the isolation in motherhood, and I need them to know that that's normal, and there is a community out there for them, and there is no roadmap, but we can all go on this journey together. And I want them to know that the fighting and the phases It's all part of this journey, and it's supposed to be chaotic and hectic and uncomfortable and joyful at the same time. And it's complicated. And that's why we have all of these feelings. There are days where I feel like I felt every feeling on the spectrum, and that's motherhood. That's what this is. But I want them to know that lonely feeling, that anxiety, that stress and pressure, they're not alone in that. And I want them to know it's okay. We'll get through this together, but to talk about it, because I think you can gain a lot of resentment and a lot of depression when you keep it to yourself, a lot of anxiety. And so sharing it, talking about it, and hopefully remembering in who you are in amongst all of that, because let's be honest, we tend to forget who we are as women when we become a mom. Like, I want them to remember these things as they go along their journey, because all of it's important,
Meredith Masony, thank you so much for being here with us. Your book launches on the 1st?
September 1st, yes.
September 1st. Ask me what's for dinner one more time. You are the lucky mom who does not actually get asked that question, because man sitting next to you gets it. But it's a great book. I hope everyone will pick it up. And thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.